If you constantly feel mucus stuck in your throat, if you keep clearing your throat again and again, if you wake up with thick phlegm every morning and you don't know why, then you need to watch this video very carefully, because persistent phlegm is not random, it is not normal, and it is not something you should ignore. Your body is trying to send you a warning sign, and in many cases, the real cause is something people never suspect. Most people think mucus only comes from a cold, flu, or infection, but that is not always true. In fact, many people who have constant phlegm are not sick at all, yet their throat keeps producing mucus every single day. Doctors see this problem very often, especially in adults and seniors. And the surprising part is that the real reason is usually hidden in daily habits, food choices, stomach problems, allergies, or even breathing issues that slowly irritate the throat without you realizing it. And if the cause is not fixed, the mucus keeps coming back, no matter how many syrups, lozenges, or home remedies you try. So today I will explain the real causes of persistent phlegm in the throat, the ones most people ignore. And when you understand these causes, you can finally stop the constant throat clearing, the sticky feeling, the cough, and that uncomfortable lump sensation that refuses to go away. One of the most common real causes of persistent phlegm is acid reflux, and many people who have reflux don't even know they have it. When most people think about acid reflux, they think about heartburn, burning in the chest, or stomach pain. But there is another type called silent reflux, and this one can cause constant mucus in the throat without any burning feeling. When acid from the stomach travels upward, it irritates the throat and voice box. The throat is very sensitive, so even a small amount of acid can cause swelling and irritation. When the throat becomes irritated, the body produces more mucus to protect the lining, and that extra mucus feels like phlegm stuck in the throat all the time. People with reflux often notice that they clear their throat more after eating, after lying down, or early in the morning. Some people feel like something is stuck in their throat even though nothing is there. Others have hoarseness, dry cough, or a sour taste in the mouth. Foods like spicy meals, fried food, tea, coffee, chocolate, and late-night eating can make reflux worse. And that means more throat irritation and more mucus. This is why some people take cough medicine again and again, but the phlegm never goes away, because the real problem is not in the lungs. It is coming from the stomach. Another very common cause of constant phlegm is allergies, and this is something many people live with every day without realizing it. When your body reacts to dust, smoke, pollen, strong smells, or certain foods, the nose and throat produce extra mucus as a defense. This mucus normally drains down the back of the throat, and this is called postnasal drip. When postnasal drip happens again and again, it feels like thick phlegm sitting in the throat that you cannot swallow and cannot cough out completely. People with allergies often feel worse in the morning, worse in dusty rooms, or worse during certain seasons. They may also have sneezing, itchy eyes, runny nose, or blocked nose, but sometimes the only symptom is constant mucus. Air pollution, indoor dust, mold, and pet hair are very common triggers, especially for people who stay indoors most of the time. Even strong perfumes, cleaning chemicals, and smoke from cooking can irritate the airways and cause more mucus production. When the body keeps reacting every day, the throat never gets a chance to calm down, so the phlegm keeps coming back again and again. Another hidden reason for persistent phlegm is dehydration, and this is something people rarely think about. When the body does not get enough water, the mucus becomes thick and sticky instead of thin and easy to clear. Thin mucus is normal and healthy, but thick mucus feels uncomfortable and gets stuck in the throat. Many adults and seniors drink less water than their body needs, especially if they drink more tea, coffee, or sugary drinks instead of plain water. Caffeine and sugar can make dehydration worse, which makes mucus thicker. Dry air also plays a role. When you stay in air-conditioned rooms, heated rooms, or very dry environments, the throat becomes dry and irritated. The body responds by producing more mucus to protect the throat. But because the body is not well hydrated, the mucus becomes thick and hard to clear. This is why some people feel more phlegm at night or in the morning, because the throat becomes dry while sleeping. Drinking enough water during the day, using humid air, and avoiding too much caffeine can make a big difference. But many people ignore this simple cause and keep suffering from constant throat mucus. Another real cause of phlegm that many people don't expect is certain foods, especially dairy, fried food, and very sugary foods. Some people notice that after drinking milk or eating ice cream, their throat feels more coated and they need to clear it again and again. Not everyone reacts to dairy, but for some people, it can make mucus feel thicker. Fried and oily foods can also trigger reflux, which then causes throat irritation and more mucus. Very sweet foods can increase inflammation in the body, and that can make allergies and throat irritation worse. Some people also react to cold drinks, packaged snacks, or artificial flavors, and the throat responds by producing more mucus. When this happens every day, the body stays in a constant cycle of irritation and protection, and the result is persistent phlegm that never seems to go away. The difficult part is that people don't connect their food habits with their throat symptoms, so they keep eating the same things while wondering why the mucus never stops. Another important cause of constant phlegm is chronic sinus problems. The sinuses are small air spaces in the skull that produce mucus to keep the nose moist. When the sinuses become inflamed because of infection, allergy, or pollution, they produce more mucus than normal. This mucus slowly drains down the back of the throat, especially when lying down or sleeping. This is why many people wake up with thick phlegm in the morning or feel mucus moving in the throat when they lie down. Chronic sinus inflammation can last for months or even years, especially if the person is exposed to dust, smoke, or strong smells regularly. Some people also have a deviated septum or blocked nasal passages, which makes mucus drainage worse. When the mucus cannot flow normally, it collects and drips into the throat, causing that constant need to swallow or clear the throat. Many people think they have a lung problem when the real issue is in the nose and sinuses. Another cause that doctors often see is smoking or exposure to smoke. And this includes not only cigarettes, but also cooking smoke, pollution, and secondhand smoke. Smoke irritates the lining of the throat and lungs, and the body responds by producing more mucus to protect itself. Over time, the airways become more sensitive, so even small amounts of smoke can trigger coughing and phlegm. People who live in polluted areas or spend a lot of time around dust and fumes may notice that their throat never feels clear. Even if you do not smoke, breathing in smoke from others or from the environment can cause the same reaction. When the irritation continues every day, the mucus production never stops, and the throat always feels heavy or blocked. Another reason some people have constant phlegm is frequent throat clearing itself. This may sound strange, but clearing the throat too often can irritate it and make the body produce even more mucus. It becomes a cycle. The throat feels irritated, so you clear it. Clearing irritates the throat more, so the body makes more mucus, and then you feel the need to clear it again. Over time, this habit can keep the throat inflamed even when the original cause is gone. Learning to sip water, swallow gently, or use steam instead of constant throat clearing can help break this cycle. Some people also have persistent phlegm because of breathing through the mouth instead of the nose. When you breathe through the mouth, the air goes directly into the throat without being warmed and filtered by the nose. This makes the throat dry and irritated, especially during sleep. Snoring, blocked nose, or sleep apnea can make mouth breathing worse. When the throat becomes dry every night, the body produces more mucus to protect it, and in the morning the person wakes up with thick phlegm that takes a long time to clear. Fixing nasal blockage, treating allergies, and keeping the air moist at night can reduce this problem. But many people never realize that their breathing habit is the reason for their throat mucus. There are also cases where persistent phlegm is related to lung conditions like chronic bronchitis or asthma. In these conditions, the airways produce extra mucus because of long-term inflammation. People may have cough, chest tightness, shortness of breath, or wheezing along with the phlegm. This is more common in smokers, older adults, or people who have been exposed to pollution for many years. If phlegm is thick, colored, or comes with breathing problems, it should not be ignored, because the lungs may need medical treatment. Another cause that is often overlooked is certain medicines. Some blood pressure medicines, allergy medicines, and even some pain medicines can make the throat feel dry or irritated, which leads to more mucus production. When the throat lining becomes dry, the body tries to protect it by making more mucus, and that mucus feels like constant phlegm. If someone notices that the problem started after a new medicine, it is important to talk to a doctor instead of ignoring it. The important thing to understand is that persistent phlegm is usually not coming from just one reason. In many people, 2 or 3 causes are happening at the same time. For example, a person may have mild reflux, mild allergy, and dehydration together, and this combination keeps the throat irritated all the time. That is why simple cough syrups often don't solve the problem, because the real cause is still there. When you start fixing the real cause, the throat slowly becomes less irritated, the body makes less mucus, and the feeling of constant phlegm begins to disappear. This may take time, especially if the irritation has been there for months or years, but the throat can heal when the triggers are removed. Drinking enough water, avoiding foods that trigger reflux, keeping the air clean and moist, treating allergies, and taking care of the stomach can make a big difference in how your throat feels every day. Many people live with constant mucus for years thinking it is normal, but it is not something you should ignore, especially if it keeps coming back every day. Your body is trying to protect itself, and that extra mucus is a signal that something is irritating the throat again and again. When you understand the real cause, you can finally stop guessing, stop using random remedies, and start fixing the problem from the root. And another cause that many people completely overlook is a chronic throat infection that never fully heals. This is one of the most frustrating reasons behind persistent phlegm, because the person feels like the infection is gone, but the throat never really returns to normal. What happens in many cases is that the throat gets infected once, maybe during a cold, flu, seasonal illness, or even after exposure to dust, smoke, or very cold air. The infection causes swelling and irritation in the lining of the throat, and during that time, the body produces extra mucus to protect the tissue. This is normal, and usually when the infection goes away, the mucus also goes away. But in some people, the infection does not completely clear, and the throat stays slightly inflamed all the time. The person may feel mostly fine, no fever, no severe pain, no strong cough, but the throat keeps producing mucus every day, especially in the morning or after talking for a long time. This kind of chronic throat irritation can happen when the infection was not treated properly in the beginning. Sometimes people stop medicine too early, or they take home remedies that reduce symptoms but do not fully remove the infection. The throat may feel better for a few days, but the germs are still there in small amounts, and slowly they keep irritating the lining of the throat. Because the irritation is mild, the body does not react strongly, but it keeps making mucus as a protective layer. Over time, this becomes a daily problem, and the person starts to feel like there is always something stuck in the throat that never clears. Another reason this happens is repeated infections. Some people get sore throat again and again, especially in changing weather, winter season, or in dusty environments. Every time the throat gets infected, the tissue becomes more sensitive. When the tissue stays sensitive for a long time, even small irritation can make the body produce more mucus. This is why some people notice that after one bad throat infection, their throat never feels the same again. They may not be sick anymore, but they keep clearing their throat, coughing lightly, or feeling phlegm sitting at the back of the throat. In many cases, the tonsils also play a role in this problem. The tonsils are small tissues at the back of the throat that help fight infection, but when they get infected many times, they can stay swollen or irritated for a long time. When the tonsils are not healthy, the throat often produces more mucus to protect itself. Some people also develop small pockets in the tonsils where bacteria can stay hidden. These bacteria may not cause strong pain, but they can keep the throat irritated every day, which leads to constant mucus. People with this problem often feel like their throat is never completely clean, even after drinking water or coughing. Another thing that makes chronic throat infection worse is exposure to irritants every day. If someone lives in a place with a lot of dust, smoke, pollution, or strong cooking fumes, the throat does not get enough time to heal. The lining stays irritated, and the body keeps producing mucus to protect it. Even something simple like speaking loudly for long hours, shouting, or talking continuously without rest can keep the throat inflamed. When the throat is already weak from infection, too much talking can make the irritation last longer, and the mucus keeps coming back. Cold air and sudden temperature changes can also prevent the throat from healing properly. Many people notice that their phlegm becomes worse when they drink very cold water, eat ice cream, or stay in front of a fan or air conditioner for a long time. Cold air can make the throat muscles tighten and reduce blood flow to the tissue, which slows down healing. When the throat does not heal completely, the body continues to produce mucus as a protective response. This does not mean that cold things always cause infection, but in a throat that is already sensitive, they can make the irritation last longer. Another common reason a throat infection never fully heals is weak immunity. When the immune system is not strong enough, the body cannot completely remove the bacteria or virus that caused the infection. The symptoms may become mild, but the irritation stays inside the tissue. People who sleep less, eat poorly, feel stressed often, or have other health problems may notice that their throat problems last longer than usual. Instead of getting sick and recovering quickly, they stay in a half-sick state where the throat keeps producing mucus but no strong illness appears. Some people also develop chronic throat inflammation because of mouth breathing. When a person breathes through the mouth, the air goes directly into the throat without being filtered or warmed by the nose. This makes the throat dry and irritated, especially during sleep. A dry throat heals more slowly after infection, and the body produces extra mucus to keep the lining moist. This is why people who snore, have blocked nose, or sleep with their mouth open often wake up with thick phlegm in the morning. If this happens every night, the throat never gets a chance to recover completely. Another factor that keeps throat infection from healing is frequent use of throat clearing and coughing. When the throat feels irritated, people naturally try to clear it again and again. But every time you clear your throat forcefully, the lining becomes more irritated. This irritation makes the body produce more mucus, and then the person feels the need to clear the throat again. This cycle can continue for months. Even if the original infection is gone, the habit of throat clearing keeps the tissue inflamed, so the mucus never stops completely. Dry indoor air can also make this problem worse. When the air in the room is very dry, the throat loses moisture, and dry tissue becomes more sensitive to irritation. If the throat was already weak because of infection, dry air can stop it from healing fully. This is common in people who sleep with air conditioning, heaters, or strong fans blowing directly on the face. The throat dries during sleep, and in the morning the body produces thick mucus to protect the tissue. Over time, this becomes a daily pattern. Sometimes people also develop chronic throat infection after using too many lozenges, sprays, or strong home remedies. While these things can help for short-term relief, using them too often can irritate the throat lining. Some lozenges contain strong ingredients that dry the throat, and some home remedies are too spicy or too hot, which can make the tissue more sensitive. When the throat stays irritated, the body keeps producing mucus as protection, and the person feels like the infection never fully went away. Another situation where throat infection lasts longer is when the person keeps getting exposed to sick people or crowded places. Viruses and bacteria spread easily in crowded environments, and the throat may get infected again before it is fully healed from the last infection. Each new irritation adds to the old one, and the throat stays inflamed for a long time. The person may not even realize that they are getting small infections again and again, but the constant mucus is a sign that the throat is not completely healthy. Sometimes stomach problems can also slow down the healing of throat infection. When acid from the stomach reaches the throat, it irritates the tissue and makes it harder for the throat to recover. Even if the infection was mild, acid irritation can keep the lining swollen, and the body responds by producing more mucus. This makes the person feel like the infection is still there, even though the main cause is irritation from below. Another reason chronic throat infection leads to persistent phlegm is that the body becomes overprotective after repeated irritation. The lining of the throat becomes more sensitive than before, so even small triggers like dust, cold air, or talking too much can make the body produce mucus quickly. This is similar to how skin becomes sensitive after repeated injury. Once the throat reaches this sensitive state, it may take a long time to return to normal, and during that time the person keeps feeling phlegm in the throat. People who sing, teach, speak loudly, or use their voice a lot often experience this problem more than others. When the throat is used heavily while it is still recovering from infection, the tissue stays inflamed. The body produces mucus to protect the vocal cords, and the person feels constant throat coating. Resting the voice, drinking enough water, and avoiding irritants can help. But if the irritation continues every day, the mucus may stay for a long time. In some cases, chronic throat infection can also cause the glands in the throat to produce thicker mucus than normal. Thick mucus is harder to swallow and harder to clear, so it stays in the throat longer and gives the feeling that there is always something stuck. The person may cough, swallow, or drink water many times, but the feeling keeps coming back because the glands are still irritated. This is why persistent phlegm should never be ignored when it lasts for weeks or months. It does not always mean something dangerous, but it often means the throat has not fully healed from an old infection. The body keeps trying to protect the tissue, and the extra mucus is part of that protection. When the irritation finally stops and the throat gets time to recover, the mucus slowly becomes less, the throat feels clearer, and the constant need to clear it begins to go away. But until the infection and irritation are completely gone, the body will continue to produce mucus to defend the throat from further damage.